What makes me nervous? Oh, we're live. Woohoo.
Hi,
Give us
everybody.
a thumbs up in the chat if you can hear and see us.
Hit all the thumbs up so we get more people in here.
Oh yeah, thumbs up in the chat and thumbs up on the like button. My brain is fried.
Sid spent a lot of time today emptying out the bike shed.
Yeah.
She did a really amazing
if
job.
any spiders crawl out of my hair, just don't want to be held responsible for that.
And I would say we cleaned out the shed, but I did not help at all.
It did not help at all.
I was finishing up the artwork for Send It so we can get prototypes printed, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, so that was actually a question we did get from, I can't remember if it was on Patreon or Instagram, but how is the board game going? Since you mentioned it, why don't you just start with that question?
All right, fair enough. So we have finished up all of the artwork for the game, and I just have to, what do I need to do? I need to finish up the rules because we've had some people test it and they were like, I didn't quite understand this. And I also want the rules to look nice so that it's actually fun to read the rules because, you got to read rules. So yeah, that's the status of that. All the artwork is done and looks amazing. Christina did a spectacular job. And then we are going to, finish up the rules, and I've submitted the order, so it should be printed, and we will hopefully have prototypes by the end of next week, which is good because we are planning to launch possibly by the end of next week. Or, wait, is that right?
No, you have.
Oh, good.
Like a week and a half.
Okay, yeah. That's good.
So, yeah, we're going to do a little Q&A today, but we want to set some ground rules. We do have some questions from Patreon and Instagram. We're going to kind of prioritize questions that we haven't answered 1,010 times on this channel. And we aren't going to answer any questions that are like, when are you going to go here? When are you going to do a video on this place, this race, this, that, and the other? Because honestly, like, we don't know. And those kind
There's a worldwide pandemic.
Right.
So we know nothing.
But also, like, those kind of questions aren't super interesting for other people who don't live in that place or do that race or whatever. Yeah. So other than that,
fair game.
It's fair game. And we have some interesting questions from Patreon. We're going to start there. Also, like, the chat's always crazy, so super chat if you have a super important.
Yeah, if you really want us to answer a question, super chat, and then it pops up in a color, and then we see it. Otherwise, we're just like watching as much as we can.
Yeah, and let us know where you guys are at in the chat, like how quarantine and everything has been going for you. Yeah.
It's
by still running a duct taped dirt bike fender. Let's start with the deep, important questions.
I am.
Yes, of course.
Although it's complicated, but I think I have a way of getting a new fender or new plastic for my dirt bike. So I'm probably going to do that, but I haven't been riding my dirt bike recently. So, I'm sorry to hear. Nissa's grandmother died of corona yesterday.
I'm really sorry.
Really hard to hear that.
It's pretty crazy times. I think it is, we're all pretty isolated. So I hope everybody's doing okay. And I guess we'll just do a quick little update. If you haven't been watching every video, we spent 3 weeks in Sedona after Sedona Mountain Bike Festival. It seemed like that was the best call because we had been around a lot of people for that festival. So
more busy, just not driving as much.
Like we might have lost connection.
Oh no.
I don't know why.
Yeah, we are losing.
Well, yeah, we did. We've been frozen for a second. I'll run a speed test.
Why don't you go to our... Oh, wait, it's back. They say we're back. Sorry, guys. We don't know what happened. That was really weird. We've had pretty consistent internet here recently. Okay. Sounds like we are back.
That might have been just a weird...
A blip.
A weird YouTube thing, because we have Yeah, we have an
Woo,
upload
baby.
speed of 50, so
50.
I don't think
that's amazing.
I don't think that was on our end. So
Yeah.
anyway, hopefully it doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
Get the like button so people
Get people
see that
back
this
in
is
here.
going on and
Yeah.
working.
Should we restart our summary? Because it sounds like we got,
Most people are sort of on
Here, I'll summarize it
Yeah.
very quickly.
super.
Back in New Mexico, organizing the house, clearing out the shed, working on Send It, Rip Row workouts.
Yeah.
There you go. Pretty good summary, huh?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
If I said, is it throttling of the internet speed? I don't know. We have an upload of 49 megabits per second, so I don't think that was us.
We have
unless
fast
there was
internet
just like
here,
a
which is
weird
awesome.
blip. Yeah. So should we get into it?
Yeah,
I will
let's
pull
jump
up
into
some of these questions.
questions.
There were some pretty good ones. There were a lot of I don't know, should we try to have themes?
No.
No?
I think we should just start with the questions here and then go to the questions on Instagram and then go to the questions in the comments.
Okay, so we've got some training questions here. This is from Nick. Do we have a baseline that we focus on in terms of miles or speed when bike training, MTB versus gravel? So basically, I think what he's saying here, how does our training change for different events, basically? So like a mountain bike event versus gravel event.
Also asking how do we measure our training?
Right.
So are we just saying oh, I should go 20 miles today, or I should go at this speed today?
Yeah. So basically, question.
Wait a second. All right.
Can you see us now?
Let us know if we just tried swapping to the other Wi-Fi network in the house here. We're back. Okay, good.
I think, yeah. Anyway, internet is hard. Basically, the question is kind of how does our training change for events? How do we measure that? How do we, and then also how are we staying motivated with, everything being canceled, which is, I think, probably the biggest part of that question. And the answer is just kind of shifted priorities at the moment. Mackie's focusing on Send It a lot more than training. I've pretty much stopped trying to rush my recovery with my hip at all. I haven't started riding again, but which I maybe could have, and I would have if I were trying to ramp up for something. But with kind of this extra time, it's just made a lot more sense to actually go, really by the book and just not rush things.
Yeah. It's much more important to be as to be feeling as good as possible than it is to rush it, especially since we don't have any, we don't know when our races are again.
Right. We don't know when the races are. It's also not a great time to really, beat yourself up with training. Really hard training my understanding at least is that really hard training it doesn't weaken your immune system.
It does weaken your immune system.
Not overall, it's just
but as you recover,
run down, right?
Yeah, as you recover, it builds you back up stronger. But in the depth of a big training block, you are going to have a weak immune system, and that's not a good thing to have right now.
Right.
Also, Mike, we talked to Mike, our coach, recently, and he basically said right now he is focusing on mental health instead of physical. He's I would rather you mentally be able to deal with the situation and be feeling positive and stuff than have you training as hard as I could have you train right now. And so for us, we've been let's focus on some of the tasks that we want to do. Let's focus on the shed and Send It and the stuff like that, and have training be a secondary thing for the moment, with the understanding that that's going to swap soon. But right now we're going to take advantage of that and mentally just be here and enjoy being in Taos and being in one place for a while.
Yeah. And so as for how does training differ for mountain bike, gravel, there's less difference there. I mean, we haven't done a ton of gravel racing, so we're not gonna we haven't done any gravel racing.
I did one.
Yeah, we do ride the gravel bike a lot.
Yeah.
So a lot of our mountain bike training is on the gravel bike. I think the change there would be more based on the length of the event. If a gravel race were 120 miles or like Dirty Kansas or something like that, that would necessitate much different training than for like a 30-40 mile mountain bike race. However, if you have a gravel race that's like 50-60 miles, that's probably very similar training, because wouldn't you say for like a 30-40 mile XC to a 50-60 mile gravel race, like
I think also
the time would be similar.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say is we don't do our training based on mileage.
No.
Mike isn't like, go out for a 20-mile ride. He's like, you're going to go out for 2 hours, and of those 2 hours, you're going to do intervals that are like this amount long with this amount of recovery. And so for us, it has nothing to do with time or speed or anything. We do it based on wattage, sometimes heart rate, and then time is the intervals and the duration. Thank you to John for the super chat. Really appreciate that. John says that what quarantine has shown him is that being solo is perfectly fine by him, and the Cyclox hammer is his friend. So it sounds like John is training hard and doing well with quarantine, which is awesome.
I would say we've also realized that we're really okay with not going anywhere.
It's been sort of nice
travel,
having an excuse to like have to stay in one place. Because normally for us, it's like we're in a place for a week or 2 weeks, and then we're on the road again or somewhere else, which is really fun. But it can be hard to like get some of these things done if you're constantly traveling. So giving us the opportunity to catch up on some stuff and focus on some stuff. Sid will look another question. I'm going to scroll through these. Our board games always came with rejections instead of directions, meaning don't read these because like you don't want to play this game because the directions suck. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to avoid. Is I want it to be like interesting and fun to look at the instructions so that you actually want to play.
I think someone was asking if we can ride here. New Mexico trails aren't closed. It's not a house isn't super busy on trails usually, and I think that's the case now. There's also some stuff we can ride from the house, so that's pretty much what Mackie's been doing. Yeah, it's not like super exciting trails. That's why we haven't been making videos of that. It's just not like. It's just.
Yeah, I mean it's trails and they're fine, but that's where I'm using it as an excuse to focus on some other stuff and like get my training in so that I stay fit. But that's not my focus, and riding isn't my focus right now, and that's okay. And honestly, it's giving us the opportunity to work on videos and stuff that we otherwise wouldn't. Like if we weren't back in Taos, we would not be working on the shed, and it's a project we've been wanting to do. So it's really cool. It gives us the opportunity to actually sit down and do that project.
I like that someone said we should ride Chipman Hill and Middlebury.
We have.
I know I said that we're not answering questions about going places, but I hadn't thought about Chipman Hill for years.
Yeah, we didn't ride there a lot, but we definitely rode it. Wait,
no, all the freaking time,
all the
like
time.
6 times a week.
I was thinking, what was the one down in?
Pine Hill.
Pine Hill.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking
in Rutland. No, we rode Chipman Hill probably like 5 times a week when we were in college. Yeah, pretty much. So I have no idea what it's like now, but it's really different. But
yeah.
What was the name of that trail? That was like, it was like a downhill trail. And we're like, whoa, this is so cool. But
oh, wait. It was like recovery, but it's not. Because it was somebody coming back from.
Maybe this guy will give us some trail names. What was it?
Oh, well.
Okay, so jumping into another question from Patreon. This is one that I'm not super surprised we're getting after hanging out with Tess and Steve and Lil Dusty. Joanne says, after seeing you both in quarantine with your friends and their child, you're amazing with your interactions with the little ones. Do you have any plans to have children in the future? I think you'd make amazing, cool parents.
Oh,
thank you. We like kids a lot. It's not.
I have serious baby.
Mackie loves babies. He loves babies.
I love babies.
I like kids when they're like kids.
I mean, that's the best because they're like the cutest thing ever, but anyway.
Yeah, babies are kind of scary.
Long story short, right now we love OPB, other people's babies.
Yeah.
Because then when they poop or cry, you just give them back. But I think at some point we will probably have kids. Yeah. Not in the near future.
We like kids. We've told Mackie's parents you can ask us again in 5 years. And then they ask us again in 5 months, and then we tell them the same thing. So yeah, not in the 5-year plan,
Not
but
in the
maybe
5-year
beyond
plan,
that.
but yeah, at some point. Thank you to Garth for the super chat. Garth says, I kind of wish I could be quarantined. I'm still traveling for work. Ooh, man. Where are you traveling? And is it by plane or car or, be safe out there. That's scary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably less scary than it sounds if you read the news.
Well, I imagine there's just probably not that many people on planes right now, so that's probably good. We didn't have any issues driving back in Mexico. It was totally fine. We're obviously super careful and everything
we only
like
touched
that.
one gas pump.
Yeah.
Garth, let us know how you are traveling and what it has been like. I'd be really curious to know right now. Brave says, babies look right into my soul. Terrifying.
Is that a good thing or
it's terrifying. It's not a good thing.
Okay.
Quarantine baby boom. I do wonder.
I saw a really great meme that was 9 months from now, a boom of babies will be born, and we should call them the coronials.
The coronials. I love that.
Okay, so that's when are we getting married? We've been married for a year and a half. No, 2.5. 2.5 years. So 2.5 years ago. Actually, that is a question that was on Instagram. So while we're on the topic, let me pull it up. It was when did we meet? And I know we've talked about that a lot. So the Cliff Notes version is we met at college in Middlebury, which is where this Chipman Hill place that we were talking about is. And I'm pretty sure the longer version is in some other live stream. So how did you meet? Where and when did we get married? So we got married the first time. We got married the first time in Taos in 2017. We went to the courthouse, did the paperwork,
and then went and
rode South Boundary with a bunch of our friends.
Yeah.
Super fun. And the second time, okay, it's the same time. We wanted to be married so that we could file our taxes together and
because we were already sharing all our finances and living together.
And we'd already been together for 6 years at that point.
Except that we got to save money on it. So we did that. And then a year later, almost exactly, it was actually a year and a week later, we had a wedding and invited, friends and family and had a nice ceremony, and that was really fun. It was a lot of work though. So yeah.
It was really fun. I actually was really skeptical about the wedding thing, not about the marriage. Wedding thing was a lot of work.
It was a lot of work.
And a lot of people having lots of opinions about how you should do your wedding. But I think we did it right. We did it exactly the way we wanted to. And it was super casual.
And it was cheap. And we had a lot of good Mexican food.
Exactly.
Which are pretty much the most important things.
Yeah. It was in a barn.
And it was in a barn.
You said that. I was looking for questions. But yeah.
No, it was in a barn. And also, I know that Sid's never going to divorce me because she doesn't want to have to go through the process of getting married again. So I'm good. Yeah. Okay. Brandon asks, have I ever straight up told everybody my FTP? The number that Mike uses for my FTP at the moment is a little over 300. I think it's about 305 or 310. That's just sort of his working number. FTP actually fluctuates throughout the season. And for people who don't recognize the term, FTP is functional threshold power. It's basically the power that you can hold for a sustained effort of about about an hour, not a year,
not 300,
an hour that you can hold for about an hour. And so it's sort of at the point where if you go above that, you start fatiguing very quickly and you can't sustain that. So that's what they base a lot of training off of, whether it's longer intervals or shorter intervals, it's percentage of that number. So my FTP is about 305. That's what Mike uses.
And I think that's a fairly accurate one because Mike calculates that based on like all of his workouts, not just one test,
Yeah. It's not just a single FTP test. It's all my workouts combined.
A lot of times those tests can really overinflate the numbers that people share. Yeah. So our advice is always don't worry too much about your FTP. Don't worry about how it compares to someone else and their watts per kilogram and all that, because you don't know how they were testing it. It doesn't.
Well, and also FTP means nothing unless you're also taking into consideration weight. Like, because like I weigh more than Sid. My FTP is higher. If those were proportionally the same, we would go the same speed.
Right.
Like, so it doesn't, if somebody weighs way more than you and their FTP is higher, that doesn't necessarily mean they're going to go faster than you.
No.
So FTP really, and honestly, nowadays, most cycling computers have an auto power thing, which is really cool. Like I know the Stages Dash does. You can just turn it on to auto power and it automatically calculates your FTP for you based on your rides. And that's really a cool way to do it, because then you don't have to like be doing all these FTP tests and all this kind of stuff. You can just go and ride and then it will actually like calculate that for you. So
yeah, and I don't know how to pronounce your name, but Nice says road cyclists with a huge FTP is going to be useless in a mountain bike race.
totally.
It's true, and there's also like there's a lot of other things, a lot of other factors there too, especially for mountain biking, because if you have a really high FTP that like you've done in an FTP test, that doesn't necessarily mean that you will be able to put out very high power and then recover quickly, which is a lot of what mountain bike racing is. So don't worry too much about FTP. It's a very helpful training tool, but it is just a tool. And I think recently it's become,
Rant.
It's become
Sid's ranting.
You need the flames on the live stream.
We need a sign that says rant so I can hold it up and be like, rant.
It has become somewhat trendy on YouTube, as well as just in general, for people to like do the tests and like share their FTP numbers and like turn it into this thing where like everyone's trying to get a higher FTP and like blah, blah, blah. And like that can be a little counterproductive, because if you are training at an FTP that's too high, that say you, for whatever reason, that test calculated it too high, like that will be detrimental to your training. So you want to be honest with that. And a lot of people who have good high power will do like the trainer road test or one of those, and they get a number that's higher than what they actually can sustain for that long period of time, because they have strength and not the endurance. So then they're doing their longer intervals at too high of a
So basically, to be useful for training, don't get too obsessed with it. Yeah, like Ray says, a woman with a 200 FTP can crush a big guy with 350 FTP. Sid's is like 220 the last time, like that's the number Mike uses. 225. She's going to go faster, like Ray said, than a big guy with a 350 FTP, because she does not weigh what a big guy. But like that's, So there you go. Like Emily says, she dropped 33 pounds since November. Take that. If your FTP stayed the same and you drop 33 pounds, that's like faster. A huge improvement. Totally. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, but also, as someone was saying, like technical aspects of mountain biking are hugely important for going fast in a race or ride setting. So don't put too much stock in FTP. It's one aspect. Going and doing a skills session is also going to make you much faster on a bicycle. It's not just about like how many watts you put out for an hour. Yeah, it's just a number, basically. Cool. All right, we're gonna go into kind of a deep question. Oh, a deep question. From
Renee, Adventures on a $700 Hardtail. She just
Hey, thank you,
Renee. Everyone put a little applause emoji in the chat for Renee. Like,
definitely. People who are
like her are
the doctors who are working, and really everybody who's
frozen again. Can you see us? I wonder if there's a lag in the. I'm not going to swap it. The other one's gone. Oh well, we'll just keep talking.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you to everybody who is still working and doing, both hospital work, grocery store, like everybody who's still working and has to interact with people. We really appreciate that. So thanks to those people. Yeah. Let's see.
First of all, reading the comment. Okay, the question is your biggest fears. So, and that's from Renee, Adventures on a $700 Hardtail. So, I honestly don't even know. I worry about so many things.
Sid's the worrier of the family.
I would say probably something happening to Mackie would be one of my biggest fears. Like when he crashed last year, that was super traumatic. And
I think not being able to do what we do right now is something that I would say, I guess it's a fear of mine, but it's something that instead of just worrying about it and being scared of it, I want to like I try to plan for that. So we try to save money when we can, and we try to set ourselves up in a good way. And, so we're trying to like make it so that we can continue to do this. And frankly, we're like hugely so appreciative of everybody who's throwing super chats in here, of everybody on Patreon, because they are the reason that we can afford to do YouTube. Like otherwise we wouldn't be doing YouTube. We would be doing something else to try to make that monthly amount, because it's a lot of work doing YouTube, and that's a significant source of income. That plus sponsorship is how we make money and how we do what we do.
Definitely like this whole situation with coronavirus, and it's been interesting. I think it's brought out fears in pretty much everyone. Just because I don't know how to put this, but I think it's the first time in my life that I've realized that there are so many things like out of our control that could really change our ability to do what we enjoy doing, which is racing and riding bikes. It's sort of like when you think about it, like if you were like 18 years old in England in 1914, okay, like you don't have that much choice of the trajectory of your life. Like especially if you're a man, like you're going to fight in 2 wars probably. Like
good point.
And I think that we are very insulated from that as Americans, as white people in America today who have resources and privilege. Like we're not wealthy, but we're fine. And we've been very insulated from that feeling of things being totally out of our control.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's been an interesting time.
I wouldn't say we're freaking out. Like nobody's freaking out. Honestly, things haven't changed too much for us compared to many people in this pandemic, and we're super thankful for that. And everyone who stayed supporting us on Patreon, who's doing super chats despite all this uncertainty, like you guys are amazing. And
totally.
Yeah. So okay, lighthearted question: what is our quarantine snack of choice?
Well, wait. First, I want to say thank you to Curtis, and let's answer Curtis's question. Curtis
then we'll talk about snacks.
Curtis is in New Mexico. He says he's still getting to ride. He has a question on the Stages bike computer. Is it worth it without the power meter versus a Garmin or Wahoo? So we haven't ridden with a Garmin or a Wahoo in a long time, honestly, like 4 or 5 years. Yeah. So I know they're good. I know those companies do a great job. They put out really nice stuff. My understanding is that the Stages does very similar things. So it just depends on if you're really comfortable with a Garmin already, sure, it makes sense to do that. If there's certain things that you want, like with the Wahoo, where I think your phone is actually what's controlling it, then that makes sense. For us, or for me, I don't want my phone connected to my power meter while I'm riding, or not my power meter, my cycling computer. I don't want notifications of calls and texts. Like when I'm riding, I want to be focused on riding. I can have those come in on the Stages, but I just turn that off because I don't want that. I want to focus on my ride. It'll do intervals for me and it'll do routes for me. And I've been experimenting with those 2 things, and it's really, really good and really, really fun. It's been cool to set up routes that I had never ridden before and just be able to follow it and not have to stop and be like, which way am I supposed to turn here? And so I think it's awesome. Power meter is great, obviously. But yeah, they're expensive and they're another thing. And if you don't want to spend that money, there's no need to have a power meter for these Stages Dash to be a good cycling computer.
Yeah, I'd say it's sort of the same as getting a Garmin without a power meter.
Totally.
Do power, they can connect to the Stages, they can connect to Quark or all these other ones.
Yeah. And they have similar functions to the Stages Dash. So there you go. That's our answer.
Cool. We had a question on Instagram that was, what is our quarantine snack of choice?
Quarantine snack?
I don't know. I don't feel like we've been snacking a lot, actually.
You did make cookies.
I made cookies.
She made oatmeal, chocolate chip, pecan, or were they walnut?
I think there was a bit of both.
Pecan walnut cookies, and they were awesome. So.
And we made cinnamon rolls.
And we made sourdough cinnamon rolls. We've been making a lot of sourdough bread. Sid made kombucha, and we just tried it. It was fairly good.
It was a little weird.
It wasn't quite as sweet as I would have wanted.
Yeah.
Personally.
We're hoping the second batch will be in.
Yeah. Nick Scott says fist bump. Thanks for the super chat.
Awesome. Kevin says everyone smash that like button.
Yep.
You're right, Kevin.
Good point.
Everybody
140
smash the like
people
button.
watching, 60 thumbs up. Guys, come on.
We're already up to 69.
Good job. Let's see.
All right, I'm going to pull up our Patreon questions again.
Okay.
Think about running the Amazing Race together.
This is like the TV show Amazing Race?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't think we've talked about this at all, but last year we actually applied, not for the Amazing Race, but for
Race to the Center of the Earth.
Race to the Center of the Earth. And we applied for it with Brian from BKXC to be, because it was 3-person teams. And he was the one actually found out about it and was like, we should do this. And it's similar to the Amazing Race, but more survivalist,
4 teams,
I think.
They drop you off in the middle of nowhere, and then you're all racing to a certain point. I think it would have been really cool, but we were not selected. Which in hindsight was probably good because it was supposed to be in October, and that's when I hurt my shoulder.
And I would have had a broken hand
maybe
already.
It was good, or it would have been good because then we wouldn't have been in Arkansas and I wouldn't fall off a porch.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think it was good. I don't think we could have handled it at the end of last year.
No, yeah, it would have been a little too much. I think it would be fun to do at some point, something like that.
Yeah, the Amazing Race, I feel like we have a good friend who did it a couple years ago, and she actually got all the way to the final day. We don't know too much about it. It's a little bit, I think, more urban than the one we applied to, which is more like a little bit more backcountry survivalist kind of thing, which is probably why we didn't get picked. We don't have a ton of, I think we would do well, but we didn't have the credentials so much for the like survivalist side of things. Yeah. All right, catching up here.
John says he just got his Stages power meter.
Nice.
Awesome. Stuart says if you have a Stages power meter, then the head unit would make sense. Yes, but the head unit will work without the power meter also. Also, anybody it just recently happened, but anyone who is considering the Stages Dash, Stages recently gave us a code to share with people that will give you 20% off. So if you want 20% off a Stages Dash, the code is Sid and Mackie, all one word, all lowercase. So just, yeah, they're a sponsor of ours. But we've had a lot of people ask us about it. And so we were like, hey, can we get a code? And they were like, yeah, let's do it.
I think MTV RVA said his daughter, Sydney, who's 6, wants to know how long I've been riding a bike. I've been mountain biking, I think, since I was 12 or 13. And then, before that, I would ride as a kid. There's definitely pictures of me riding over little sticks and stuff as a small child. But I did not start mountain biking until I was 12 or 13. So, yeah. Got a couple questions about this, both Instagram and Patreon, like about Niner, what it's like working with them, how we're liking them. So we just got another in the chat. Someone wants to know on Patreon about talk about the Niner that you ran on Hangover Trail. And
all right.
First of all, they've been amazing to work with. They've been super understanding of the fact that like a bomb went off in the middle of our season. And we've managed to find some other ways to kind of provide value for them. So
we've got some cool stuff coming up. Hint, hint, this is foreshadowing. So it is. There's cool stuff. We've got some cool stuff.
Got some cool projects
we're not allowed to talk about it, but so yeah, they, like Sid said, they've been awesome to work with. The bikes have been great so far. We haven't really been able to put them through their paces yet. Sid hasn't.
You have on the Jet for sure.
Yeah, I've put the Jet through its paces. This is the Jet 9 RDO, so it's the carbon Jet. It's a 29er. It is 130 in the front, 120 in the back, and that bike is awesome. Like, it's super capable. It climbs really well. It descends well. It's like 29 pounds or so. Like, it's not super light, but it's also not heavy. And it's like, if I only had one bike, that would be the bike that I would get most likely. I've been riding the Rocket a little bit, which is their like XC full suspension. And that bike is super snappy, super lightweight. Yeah. But I'm pleased with how well it descends, given that it's only 100 millimeter fork on the ones that we have and a pretty steep head angle. So I was really stoked on that. And then I've gotten to ride the Rip, once, which was that sessioning rock slabs in Tucson video. If you guys haven't watched that one, it was a good one.
Yeah, the rip, I feel like you haven't really put its face in
No.
it. Like that bike can obviously handle.
I think that bike is
more
really capable. And I'm excited to like bring it to a bike park and bring it to Moab and like, put it through some rock gardens.
I've not had the opportunity
Yes.
to do that yet, but
yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah, so one more question from Patreon. This is going to take a little bit of a sharp
abrupt turn.
But Paul asks, he's curious what role music plays in our lives. With the situation these days, I find that making and listening to music has been central to maintaining sanity and hope. And that's something we've never discussed on this channel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you should talk about it because
I've been learning how to play the piano. I played the piano as a kid. I hated it.
Me too.
My parents are still in the chat. They will recall. And I switched to playing flute whenever like band in school started. I liked the flute a lot more. I did flute through most of high school, and it's kind of funny to try to play the piano again because I can read the treble clef, but not the bass clef because the flute doesn't go into the bass clef. So I had to relearn that. It came back quickly. But yeah, I've really been enjoying trying to play music recently. I wouldn't say it comes super naturally to me.
I'm gonna disagree with Sid there. Like, she's like, no, it doesn't come easily to me, and she's been like practicing for like a week, and she's playing songs, and it sounds really like.
But Mackie, you have to understand the context of this. Is Mackie's entire family are musical prodigies, maybe except for you.
It might be a musical prodigy. I just haven't shown my prodiginess yet.
But obviously, like music, super important to your family.
Yeah, we did a lot of singing and playing. Like I sang in multiple choirs when I was younger. I played piano and drums and a little bit of guitar. And like I've done a lot of vocal training. I have done less instrument training. Music was a big part of our. Yeah,
I think one of the weirdest fun facts about Mackie that I always forget, and then his mom will mention it again, is you were in like a boys' choir that went to Rome and you sang for the Pope. True. Isn't that weird? That doesn't connect with anything I know about you at all. But anyway, so
not being Catholic.
You're not Catholic. Your family's not Catholic. It's super random.
Yeah. Hey, it was what you did. You sang in the boys' choir in New Orleans. St. Louis Cathedral. People might recognize that. It's kind of a big deal, actually. Yeah, so Sid has been playing a lot of piano. It has been sounding really awesome. She's been learning fun songs.
Someone said that they've been making songs for the music studio and actually used the song in the videos. I think we should probably attempt that at some point. We're like a ways away from that stage right now.
Well, one idea that I have been wanting to do, and at some point I will do it, is record all the different bike sounds, like shrubbing tires, going through a rock garden, and wheels spinning and stuff, and then turn that into a song and call it the bike song. And it's going to happen at some point, but probably not right now.
Mackie edits music really well. Like I don't think that we should really get a chance to share that off in our videos very often, but
well, you know, the goal is that nobody notices. It just sounds right.
It just sounds like that it's not like, oh, that was offbeat or whatever. I keep looking at the window because we've got some like cat vision going on outside the window.
What's
Jack's just like running in circles out there. I would turn the thing around, but you wouldn't be able to see anything.
Great Your Own Adventure says we have great music. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out the music.
Are we putting up a picture of our wedding? There are some on our Instagram. On our personal Instagram accounts if you want to go digging.
Yeah, true. I'm gonna scroll back up here because just to respond to Michelle said interested in the stage's computer. How accurate is the elevation, ascent, and descent? As far as I can tell, it's fairly accurate, and it generally ends up between like the start and end. If you start and end at the same place, it's usually within like 10 feet of one another, which to me says fairly accurate. All right. We have somebody from New Zealand. Awesome. Jono.
This is kind of a question that I like. I feel like we've gotten this before, but which is more competitive in your eyes, XC, enduro, or downhill?
I
it's worth saying that all of these are extremely competitive at the highest level. Yeah.
Anybody who's racing any of those races at the pro level is a very good competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of depth in Enduro and Enduro World Series simply because they let more people into the events than I would say.
True. I think that's becoming
like
less true.
Yeah, it's becoming less true. It's becoming harder. I think for women in the US, I think XC is more competitive.
Yeah.
At the high level in the US, for sure.
We have some really, really fast.
Yeah. They qualified 3 spots to the Olympics. I don't know how that works if they keep that for 2021 now that they moved it.
I think it'll be based on this year, even though
yeah, so that's like a huge deal because only the top 2 countries get 3 Olympic berths. US and Switzerland, I think.
Awesome.
So that's super cool. I think Enduro is growing on the women's side in the US. Like there's definitely a lot of very fast racers, but historically there hasn't been a ton of depth there.
Yeah, there's some very fast women at the top, and then
same with women's downhill racing. It's like I probably like any given race you go to, there'll be someone who's really strong, but there won't necessarily even be enough women to like fill out a podium.
Yeah, especially in downhill right now.
I would say men's is sort of the reverse. I think men's enduro racing is much stronger than men's cross country racing in the US
at the moment.
I don't really follow the men's on the world stuff. XC stuff and all. It's boring. The girls, women is so much better racing. I'm sorry, it's just so much more interesting.
Yeah, it's true.
But yeah,
I would say
from a not as strong
getting into racing perspective, cross country is generally the way to start, unless all of your bike riding has been at a bike park. If like you've only ridden a bike park, downhill probably makes sense. But if you generally have like been riding your bike on trails, start with cross country. It's fun. Maybe an enduro if there's a fairly mellow one, but in general, if it's your first race, start with a cross country, especially if you are a newer rider. And also, what's fun?
There's also a lot of categories in cross country.
That's
like a lot of the races will have categories for like every 5 years. So that's makes it competitive.
Yeah, but more fun.
Yeah.
The other thing that's fun with cross country is you're racing against people. Jack is stalking. It's fun racing against people because then when you're like, oh, they're getting ahead, you can speed up, or like, oh, they're getting behind, I'm gaining time. Whereas in enduro or downhill, you're racing the clock and you don't know how that compares to other people. So it's pretty fun with cross country to like actually be racing people.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'm going to keep scrolling. Somebody says, how many bikes do we own? Right now, I believe we have 11 bikes. 10 bikes.
There's 11 up there.
10 bikes. 10 bikes, and we are getting rid of 2 of them. So if anybody is looking for a Jamis Hardline, aluminum Jamis Hardline, or a carbon Jamis cyclocross bike, the Supernova, send us a message on the contact form.
The bike that we actually own, we do own a dirt jump bike. It's currently in Ohio. Actually, it was a pivot. We repainted it when we started working with Jamis, and now it is due for its 3rd repaint.
That's right.
Because Niner doesn't make a dirt jump bike either.
Yeah.
But that doesn't get a ton of use. So basically 9
bikes that are in the arsenal right now, 2 that we are
So our oldest is that dirt jump bike.
The oldest is the dirt jump bike. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here's a couple quick ones. Are we going to make any big van upgrades? No, we're really happy with our van. That's the funny thing.
Although
people are like, make a cooler van. We're like,
we got more speakers.
Yeah.
Like when Boss sent us all these speakers, they sent us some big ones. So I'm going to install those like behind the front seat up in the ceiling so that we have a sweet surround sound. So,
are we going to build trails at your relative's property? No.
Probably not.
It's 2 acres. It's fairly flat. I mean, we could build things, but we could also ride a couple miles and ride other trails.
Yeah.
And we're going to build a shed that's cool.
Yeah. Plus, we are still optimistic that things are going to calm down in the near future and we can get back to life on the road, at which point we wouldn't be using the trails here. So it seems silly to spend a lot of time.
Do you want to do this?
Yeah, sorry.
So this is actually a good segue into this next question.
Okay, let's hear it.
So this is from Addie Marie on Instagram. Have you thought about buying a house and switching to part-time van life with all the craziness going on? So, no. for starters.
Basically, no.
We are ready kind of do part-time van life. Like we're able to stay in this house. Mackie's parents usually do not live here. They work and live abroad in Thailand. They obviously had to come home because of everything that's been going on. But they're, I think, very happy with us being able to come and be here part of the time to take care of this house. So we don't have a huge interest in buying a house. However, we have talked about buying property somewhere, and basically then at that point we would build a lot of trails.
Yeah,
that was my segue. That's the connection.
Yes.
That I would say is like kind of the dream, is like buy a big chunk of property, build our own bike park,
moto trails, pump track,
everything.
Big bike garage.
I know everybody's gonna be like, it's just like Burn Peak. I'm pretty sure Burn Peak is like 7 acres. We're talking
150.
100, but
plus.
we can't afford that yet.
No, not yet.
However, land in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico is not terribly expensive, so it isn't like completely out of the realm of possibility for us to do at some point. And I think that's kind of the goal, I would say, to be able to have property that we can build trails, at some point build a house when we want to.
Probably build houses for our parents. But they can come in.
No, let them build their houses.
Well, they can build houses and then they can come and watch our kids.
Yeah.
And we have kids.
There we go. We've answered all the questions. Now. So
shout out to Jake for the $10 super chat. It says, hi from Angel Fire. I remember meeting Jake. Yep. And their son. My 8-year-old was jazzed to see the sticker you gave him last summer. Stay safe. Hope we see you riding out here soon. We hope so also. And glad to hear you guys got the bikes out. I'm glad that we are in New Mexico and not in Colorado, because Colorado just got like a foot of snow. The Boulder area, that's a lot of snow, and it's mid-April. So I'm glad that didn't happen here, because I'm enjoying not having snow right now.
I know we had snow in the forecast.
But it hasn't
we were
happened.
Like, no, why? We've had so much snow this winter already. But so far it's been lovely here in New Mexico.
It was a little cold for a couple of days, but a little cold I'll take.
Someone says 2 acres, and it is not enough, especially because there's already like a million outbuildings.
Well, and you'd get one trail that would loop around, and it wouldn't be.
It wouldn't be that interesting. I guess it could be fun if your goal was to build stuff.
Yeah,
you could do it.
We want to ride stuff.
Yeah, and even that, when we buy our chunk of property, we're probably not gonna really even build most of the trails. I know Alex and Kelsey were in the chat earlier. But if Jagged Axe Trail Designs,
we get our property, we're gonna convince them. We're gonna force them to come out and help us.
Probably have to pay them.
That's okay.
Jackie's like,
we'll pay them.
We'll just force
We'll pay them in love and friendship
and babysitting.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
So we're not really that into trail building for anything other than a means to an end.
Yeah, I'm interested in trail riding.
Yeah,
and I'll leave the building to the experts.
Yeah. I'm happy to maintain and work on trails, but I don't think I understand.
Yeah, I don't think I think
people underestimate it. They're like, you just make a line through the woods, and it's this is a thing.
We scraped out a trail at Sid's parents' house.
It was terrible.
No, Troll Gully is kind of awesome.
I thought you were talking about the other one.
It literally just goes straight down. The other one we did was terrible. All the turns were too tight, and
we built the steepest trail in Ohio.
Yeah,
that's not
it just goes straight down.
It's not a very high bar to clear, but I think it is probably.
Yeah. We've had a couple questions about my shoulder. My shoulder is doing awesome. I still have a weird lump, which you probably can't. Oh yeah, you can sort of see it. But I've been rip rowing recently, and I think that has felt really good. Lee
McCormick is doing free online rip row classes 3 times a week. So he's been doing those.
Doing that. They are brutal.
And you can, I think you can do them with resistance bands or something. If you don't have a rip row, it's just basically doing those bike movements. So is that Lee Likes Bikes on Facebook?
Rip row.
On Facebook.
Yeah. Rip row on Facebook. They've got live ones.
If anybody's interested in mixing it up, whether you have a rip row or just if you have some resistant bands, weights, or practicing those movements.
Totally. And it's been really fun. But I'm very pleased that my shoulder is doing well. I'm stoked about it. I have not ridden my dirt bike yet. That I would say is like my holdout right now.
Which isn't not because of your shoulder.
Not because of my
because
shoulders,
of,
because
like,
I don't really want
coronavirus.
to drive if I don't have to.
Yeah.
But I did do a pull-up, my first pull-up a couple days ago, and then I did 5 more later. And I would say that that's not quite the same as it was before separating my shoulder. So I think I need to keep doing pull-ups to try to build that strength back up.
Yeah, and that might be just from not doing it for half a year almost.
Oh yeah, I suspect probably. Whoa, there's
we have
advertisements for land in Nevada for $1 an acre.
We're a little picky though. It can't be flat.
Yeah, no, it has to be like this. Our
dream area is Los Alamos and like Jemez Mountains, so outside of Los Alamos. So that is a little bit farther south in New Mexico than where we are, and a little bit farther west, so southwest of Taos. But so pretty. But anyway, that's probably not going to happen this year unless it looks like we're literally not going to be able to do anything until.
Jagged X says they'll be right there to come help us. So that's awesome. They also asked how long will it be until I'm allowed to give the porch drop a second go. So when I was at your house, like a month ago.
Yeah, you wanted to do it then.
No, I did not want to do it then.
Oh.
But I went and looked at it because I wanted to see if I was mentally traumatized by it. And I was not mentally traumatized.
That's good.
So that was good. So
good.
Yeah, I was like, no, this is not the right time to do it. I don't have the right bike. B, I want to like give it some more time, but I'm not mentally traumatized by it. So that's good.
Someone asked if we were babysitting our babies or their babies.
Yeah. They're about to have a baby.
Any day
I'm so
now.
excited.
Have you had the baby yet?
Yeah. I assume you have not had the baby yet because you would have texted us. All right, let's see.
I had one I was going to ask here and then I lost it. Oh, this is a softball question, but can we use our old theme song for a video for old time's sake?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that. Actually, that'll be fun. It'll be funny to see who is like, oh my god, it's this song.
Yeah.
That song turned up in like an Adidas commercial.
Yeah.
And people were sending it to us all the time, and I thought that was really funny because, like, apparently Adidas has no music budget because that was like a free song.
Yeah,
it wasn't even like
cost almost nothing.
Yeah, it wasn't even like now we use a better music thingy.
Yeah,
but we use Epidemic Sounds.
Yeah.
They have much better music than what we were using at that time, which is apparently where Adidas is at. So that's funny.
They said the baby's still in there.
Oh, that's good.
Okay. Did you have any other ones in there? I was just going to scroll through.
We've got a handful of relationship questions.
Okay, let's hear it.
How do you guys not be at each other's throats when you guys are always around each other? How do you know we're not? Maybe
we
actually
just put on a facade for you two.
It's all a facade.
Yeah.
I would say I don't think we fight any more than other couples. Probably less. We don't fight very much. I think we're really used to it at this point. That's like our entire relationship has
9
been
years. Probably not
9 years.
First year, maybe not as much. So probably 8 years.
But the first year and a half we were together. When we were together like 24/7. And then we would have to go back to school or whatever. So I think it's always been like 100%, or we're doing long distance, which sucks.
Yeah. Which we don't have to do anymore.
So I don't know. I think we communicate pretty well.
I'd say that's the big
saying
thing.
Like, this is annoying me.
Yeah, I'm annoyed about this because, and then you can figure out if like it's actually a problem or if somebody just needs a snack. Because sometimes I just need a snack, or Sid just needs a snack.
We eat a lot.
That's a big part. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's true.
I thought this was an interesting question. Have you had issues with negative emotional reactions to well-intended constructive criticism from each other? If so, how have you dealt with it? I think that's a really good question. That's sort of the same question, but much more specific. And I think definitely like we've learned that when one of us says this and the other, but it's definitely like
editing for 4 hours. You want to hear.
No, you want to hear like, this is amazing, you did such a good job.
Yeah.
So
saying, hey, thanks for editing for so long. It's looking really good. I think you did a great job with like the storyline. Here are some things I think that could make it better. Instead of just like, we need to fix this, because nobody wants to hear that. Like that's, So I'd say that's a big part. And then I don't know if this was what this was specifically related to, but Yeah, but I think possibly they might have been asking from like a bike perspective. What we have found with bike related, like coaching one another essentially, is you don't give advice unless it's asked for. So unless
you, I wouldn't give you advice.
No, that's not true. Yeah. No,
usually bad advice.
No, and that's not true either, because you have you see stuff really well, and you've been riding long enough that you have good advice. But I think we've both learned that it's better to just not give advice unless the person says, hey, can you watch me do this and give me an idea? Or if we feel like something is unsafe. If either of us is like, hey, you need to like do this or not do this because this is unsafe, that's one thing. But otherwise it's just like,
which isn't really an issue for either of us at this point, because we are generally pretty.
Yeah. But that's the one time. Besides that, it's generally like, just, if they ask for advice, then sure, we'll give advice. But otherwise, just, they're doing their thing. Don't mess with their thing.
Yeah. Another question. This is kind of cute. Ollie B says, how do you work together while being stuck home doing construction? My father and I have been fighting a lot while doing construction. I don't know. We haven't actually moved to the construction phase. We've only been doing the cleaning phase, and I've been doing all of it.
I think it's amazing. Sid's been doing a great job. I think part of it is that we have a similar vision for the construction project, or hopefully we will do. And that's a big part of it, is we're going to sit down and we're going to discuss and we're going to plan, because then when we actually go to start, we'll be on the same page. And I think that's something that could help Ollie, is like, sit down, figure out beforehand, like, what's the goal? How are you doing that? And then work together, because it's a lot easier to work together when you have the same vision, and it's better to figure that out before you're holding power tools.
But also might be a different relationship with your father.
Yeah,
too.
totally.
Like, it might be, he may not have participated much in the vision.
That's a good point. Let's see if.
Ooh, whoa, Mackie's trying to improve the light, but actually, I like this question. I think this might be our last question, unless anyone has some quick, easy ones that they want to throw in there. But
super chats.
Dan says, when you're seeking or accepting sponsorship, does it have to be for both of you, or would you take individual sponsorship? Okay, that's a really interesting question. I think at the moment we are both more marketable together. And that's a lot because of this YouTube channel. Like, it doesn't really make sense. I don't know if that was better. It's getting dark on us.
Yeah.
Now my hair looks crazy. But I think we're both better value together. We, in the past, had separate sponsors when we were first starting. We always had the same bike sponsor, but we'd have other different things. It was kind of a logistical mess.
Totally. I think the other aspect is, now our relationship with sponsors has changed, in that now when we work with a sponsor, it's like they want to be part of our brand. So we have our brand.
Yeah. Which is both of us.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, we want to, we feel like we have a message or something that fits well with your guys' brand. Can we talk about a partnership, as opposed to us being like, we're going to be a billboard for whatever brand. And like, hopefully you guys have noticed that when we do our videos, we're doing our thing. It just happens that we have companies that we work with whose products we use. And it's not like we're not pushing their products hard. We're using our products or using their products, and we really like them, but it's more about like us continuing to do our thing. So.
Yeah. Hopefully that answers the question. I think it's not that we would necessarily turn down a sponsor that only wanted to work with us. I suspect if that happened, it would be for a very specific reason that they only wanted, like maybe like a company that only does women's stuff, or an event that wants to sponsor us, but only Mackie wants to go, for example, which was on the plans for this year and is unfortunately kind of off the table anymore. I don't know if we should say, but I think someone asked if we would do BC bike races individuals. Yeah, for sure. I don't think we would do it together again, not because we didn't have a good time doing it together or we didn't race well together, because I think we really did, but just because we'd want to do something different. if we did that again.
Yeah.
We might do other races together.
Yeah.
People keep asking about Carol Baskin. I think we're the last people on earth who haven't watched Tiger King. And we're proud of that. Mackie's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Advice on pitching to a sponsor. What advice can we give in like 30 seconds?
Be specific.
Be specific.
And
bring
what
numbers.
You can provide them. Sponsors don't want to know what they can do for you.
Yeah.
They want to know what you can do for them. So if you can make it very clear, like, I can provide value for you by this, or I can put eyeballs, or I can sell product or whatever, that is useful to them and they'll be more likely to want to support you.
Yeah.
What do you think? Was that pretty good? Under 30 seconds?
No, apparently we're not the only ones to see a Tiger King.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I think that was good. That, and I'm saying I think your sponsorship blurb was good.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. That and provide numbers where you can, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Because athletes are not very good at that. Because it's hard to quantify. It is, totally. If race results are like, cool, you did good in a race, but like, what does that actually do for your sponsor? Debatable. So
and that used to be the only way that you'd get like magazines to talk about you and that kind of stuff. But now we all have access to our own platforms. Every social media one, everyone can be their own like channel or brand. So you don't have to necessarily like end up on the podium to have a magazine pay attention to you, because you can find your followers without a magazine.
Okay, I think we are going to wrap up there. Thank you everyone for coming. I feel like we really consistently had 150 people in here.
Yeah, that was really awesome. Rad. Yes. Huge thank you to Rafe for the burrito fund money super chat. Yeah.
And
oh, how did they find that?
There's some good online detective work going on here in the chat. Someone said, do we still don't ride stairs of libraries or academic buildings? Yeah, Mackie had a YouTube video back in the day of him riding down the like 7 flights of stairs in one of our academic buildings. Those are things we got away with in college. I don't know if, can you still get away with these sorts of things in college, or were we just, someone's been digging through your old YouTube account.
That was
danger.
Good. That was good find. I'm impressed. Yeah.
Cool. All right, we're gonna wrap this up. It is dinner time for us in New Mexico. Hope you guys all have something delicious for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Chris says you can ride down dorm stairs still. There you go. Good to know.
Cool.
Yeah. All right.
That's still a thing.
Thanks everybody for tuning in. You guys are awesome.
If you want more regular live streams, we have been doing weekly, every other week live streams on Patreon, which has been really fun. It's been like 30, 40 people, which is, it feels a little bit more intimate and is very cool.
We can keep track of all the comments.
Yeah, keep track of actually follow the chat. I feel like we did pretty good today. We didn't have any crazy, insane thoughts logging up the chat. So good.
Yep.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Don't go crazy.